This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, Venkat. Can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me? Oh, all right. I can hear you. No problem. So I hope you can see my screen also. I think uh, Prashant is yet to join. So let's wait a few more minutes. So Eldo already confirmed like he won't be joining today. So we'll just wait a few more minutes and see.
This
One second.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay. See now, I think I have explained to you the basics like how to deploy a virtual machine or in EC2 instance using Ansible script. So we basically used Ansible Playbook. So Ansible Playbook is nothing but a file, okay, uh, which will have a lot of plays. Okay. Say for example, uh, we use Ansible playbook and we will have multiple play. So play in the sense like a set of tasks plus variables plus the host or host group where we need to deploy, and we can have multiple plays in a playbook. So we call the term as a playbook in case of Ansible. Again, if we are doing in an production or expert level coding, so we will be using Ansible Galaxy, which is something like a much more modular approach. But the one which we use, okay, so we have like ad hoc commands, like from the and we use from the command line. So that is just for testing. But the playbook again, we can use it like of semi production or semi like a professional kind of environment. Only difference is okay. So there is another thing like we call it as Ansible Galaxy. I will show that later. So this is something like the production kind of or a very professional kind of coding people make use. So this is much more modular approach, and we will have multiple directories for storing all those things. But here in case of playbook, so we have a single file, the playbook YAML file, that were inside that we will have a lot of play. So we have a play 1, play 2, and play 3. Again, within each play, so we have to specify which host or host group we need to execute. Okay, and which user we need to use, and what are the variables, and what are the tasks. So all these things are available in a play. And similarly, we will have multiple plays, and these plays are executed in order. Like first this will execute, after completing this will execute, like that. So all these things we embedded into a file called a playbook, and we use Ansible playbook command to execute that. One second. Okay, let's see if I see here. So this is one simple sample playbook that we used for deploying VMs in AWS. Okay, and also the alignment is very important if you are writing a playbook, because the spacing is very important. Never use the tab, only use the space keys. So if you use the tab, definitely it will show us some syntax error. So you are starting from here, hyphen. So hyphen, as I said, it's an array. So this is the one thing. Again, the next we can write something like another play. Okay, that we will see later. And for this play, each play will have some name. Okay, and it will have some host. So host or host group will tell on which host to execute this set of tasks. So var section, set of variables that we are using. So AWS keys and AWS secret key. And under task, so we use the name is just a name that describes this about this task. So we use EC2, which is nothing but a module which is available that is used for deploying virtual machine. So here we have all these options like AWS key, which key we need to use, and AWS secret key. So these details you can get from AMI. So IAM, not AMI. So identity and access management in EC2, where you can control the users or create the user and to create the key. So the access key and secret keys are two credentials. Like with using this, you should be able to connect AWS and do the things, or what are the permissions that is associated with that particular user. So you can create the key, AWS key and the secret key for the users. And EC2, as I said, EC2 is the task which I am doing here, and where we can have this information like which key you need to use. So the key is nothing like the SSH key that we use here, and the group is I think yeah, group is a network security group or firewall group. Like we have some an Amazon fire network security group or security group, and VPC subnet, that is also we collected from AWS. Subnet is nothing but logical isolation of networking, and the type of instance T2 micra. Based on this, our processing capacity and memory will change. The reason why I choose the very minimal is I was just doing couple of testing, and finally we can change this to whatever the model we need. Then AMI is nothing but the virtual machine image ID. So if you want a Windows ID, you can use the Windows AMI ID, or if you want a Linux or CentOS or RHEL, whatever you want, you can choose that AMI ID and add it here. And region is nothing but the location. So we have multiple regions for AWS, including US, Europe, Asia Pacific, and all. So I choose like AP Southeast one. I think this is the Singapore location. So you can choose the location which is very near to your location. And assign public IP, yes, means I'm just assigning public IP address for the instance which you are going to deploy, and the count is how many number of instance I need to deploy. The tag, count tag and instance tag. I think the count tag, I'm just confused here. So the one is something like the instance name will start with this. Another one is there is a tag available. And once we are doing all these things, we have an option called register. So register we can use along with any module. So here we use EC2, and the register means whatever the output generated by this task, you can store into a variable. So that is what I'm doing here. So register EC2 means, so EC2 is just a variable. You can use any variable here. So registering the output of this command to a variable, that is called EC2. Okay. So this EC2 task is clear, right? So don't confuse with this name EC2. So this is just a variable and this is a module name. I use the same name for uh, variable. So what this variable do, so register if you use along with any task, whatever the output of that task. So here the task is EC2. So it try to deploy a EC2 instance in AWS using this detail. And once it's deployed, there is some output file that will be available and that we can capture into one variable. Next, okay, this is just for testing. I did this part. Okay, I just need to print the contents of EC2. So EC2, this output is something like a big JSON file, and what I just used is like see this one. So EC2 dot instances means if you have multiple instances, EC2 we know there is a variable name. So EC2 dot instances means it will. This is something like an array of instance detail. Okay, since I have only one case, so that means this will be a single JSON. But if you have multiple thing, then you will have multiple, I mean, array of values here. So in Ansible, there is something like with items. So with item is something is a loop. Okay, so copy is the act. You can use the with item along with any task or any module. Only thing is with item will have an array, and based on that array, so it will do iterate. So item means what are the contents from each time. Say for I'll show you the simple case like say for example item we have value 1 comma 2 comma 3 or with items we just use, and then item for each iteration the value will be 1, second iteration value will be 2, 3, 4, like that. It's something like a for loop or while loop in any other language. So I'm just using EC2 instances means, so that will be the instance details. So this can be a single value, or it can be a, I mean the single JSON, or it can be array of JSONs. So array of JSON will happen only when if we have the count is greater than 1. And here what I just used is like I just created EC2 contents for storing these values. Okay, so what it will do, it will take this value or this array. So as I said, it can be a single value or array based on the number of instances, and that value it will take. So first iteration means the first element of array. So that is again a big JSON file. So basically slash tmp ec2 contents will have a JSON file. I think I already executed this one, so I'll have some contents over there. So if I just use, see, this is the content already written. Basically, this is a JSON file. I think I can just go to the JSON lint and do the formatting. the valid JSON, and this looks like. So I deployed one VM some time back, and you can see this EC2 dot instances. We just need the IP address. Okay. Again, if I use EC2 dot instances dot private IP, we will get. Just note down this one. Public IP is not yet assigned. Maybe it takes some time. So we can just note down this private IP or the private DNS values. Okay, and so I use the same thing again. So EC2 dot instances. So item means each iteration, whatever the value we will get, then dot private IP. So okay, so here what I want to do is using okay, the reason is if you deploy the VM in EC2, we don't know the IP address of the host. Because if you want to do in an automated way, so after deploying only we will get the IP address for EC2 instances. Maybe if you have one instance or multiple instance, so those IP address we may not be knowing at the time. So once it's deployed, then only we will be knowing that IP address. So once deployed, we will have the values into this variable. From this variable, we can extract using this option. So what I am using here is, okay, as I said, in Ansible, we were using one file called Ansible host. So by default, it's something like a etc Ansible host. So this is the default file where you can add host groups and each host like that. And also we can have a custom host like this, then local, then OS boxes. What is my host name? I like this. So we can hard code this value and pass. Another option is if you use this one, add host. Okay, so add host is the module which is available in Ansible. That is just for creating another host group. Okay, the thing is, okay, so we just have only one host group. That is the local host, right? Or local host or local, whatever it may be. Then we are deploying a EC2 instances. So maybe this can be multiple EC2 instances, and we can collect all this IP address. I mean, the private IP using that item dot private IP. So those can add it as a group or create a new group at the Ansible side. Okay, we have one group called localhost. Another the one we can create using all these private IPs. So for example, so that is what I did here. So add host is a some, and again this is not a permanent in nature. Like as long as this Ansible script is running, this has the life. So what I use here is, so add host is a module. So where what you need is, so you can have the name and group. Name is something like IP address, or the group is something like which group. Okay. So instead of web server, I can just use this one as masters or something, or just use the master. Okay. Master. So under master group, whatever the instances deploying and its private IP will be collected here, and that is grouped under master. So we have one group with the local host. Okay, so that we are fetching from that host file or default file, whatever the file, inventory file. So another group we are just creating, that is a master. So and that group will have the IP address of host that we are deploying. And we can do the multiple way, like in Hadoop. So we may need to have different groups. One is a master, then another is the workers or management, and all different host groups we can do. So that we are dynamically generating using this option. And remember, if you execute and complete that, So this IP won't be recorded anywhere until you record into a file. But this add host option is, the runtime in nature. So once the run is completed, this host will not be available. So what I'm trying to say here is, so it won't record into any of the file. That's it. And the next step. Okay, if you deploy VM, okay, if you deploy VM in AWS, it will not be started immediately. Maybe as we basically need an SSH service to start. So you can just use this module wait for. So wait for, you can use the host IP or host name and the port, and we can just check whether the state is started. So that we can do for all the host. So with item, as I said, it's a array. So for each instances private IP, it will check whether this is started or not. So if it's not started, this task will wait until this SSH service is up and running. So is this clear?
Can you show me your host file in Ansible so I can see how you are aligning the master?
Yes, the master you cannot see. Okay, so basically I have a default host under /etc Ansible host. I'm not using that. I just created a new host file, local. Okay, under local OS boxes. OS boxes is nothing but, okay, I think I need to replace that with this name. Okay, my current machine name or current machine IP. Okay, so if I
But you
put
know,
local,
Mhm.
yeah, if I put
You will,
local,
sorry, good.
yeah, I'll show you. If I use local, so I'm just deploying this local host, or I can just use the local here. So this play is executing on the local machine itself. See, normally, if you have an AWS client, you execute from that host. You need not to log into that the remote machine which is running or which is up and running, right? So that thing we are executing at this local host. That is the reason I just use the local option. So only thing is we need AWS credential and all other details to connect to the for to that VM. Only thing is I'm just getting that IP address and creating. I don't know whether we save this or okay. I think we missed to. Okay, web server. Okay, so this web server we just need, I just changed to, this is just a group name. So again, we will be using this group in the next play. And again, this is not a persistent in nature. So once you execute this playbook, so this you may be thinking whether this will update this file. So that is the quite common confusion everyone will have. So will it update this file or will it update etc Ansible host? No, it won't update that file. But during the runtime, it will create a group master. So that will contain the list of IPs for the host that we have currently deployed.
This is what I'm trying to say. So take example that you have certain masters. You have a list of hosts, yeah.
Hmm, hmm,
And if you want to pick the private IP for all the masters, 3 masters you have got.
yeah,
So how?
correct.
So in this module, in this particular section where we are saying add newly created host to host group,
Hmm,
in this one, what we are trying to do? We are trying to add host. We are trying to select the IP addresses of the master hosts in this section. Is that right?
Correct.
So where we are picking this from?
IP address. So we have a variable here, right? So I can
So
just
where this variable is defined?
sorry.
Where this variable is defined EC.instances.
No, that is
EC2 I
what
can.
I'm easy to.
Okay.
This is something like I can if I use master EC2. Okay. So basically, I have a task here, right? EC2 task. So any task output I can register into a variable. Registration is something like, so when I deploy a VM or multiple VM, so as an output, it will generate some JSON file. So that JSON file will have the complete details about the VM. So that is the JSON file I have shown here, right? Cat slash tmp one file. Yeah, this file. So this is the output generated by that AWS module. So what I use here is just collected. Okay, I just deployed the one VM and registered this output to this one. So in this case, instead of EC2, I may just use this variable, and here also I need this variable. So in that case, if you are using if you need a different group, then you again I may need to do this deployment task again. So use the workers and deploy 3 worker machine like that. Uh, does this make sense?
So here you have written EC2.master EC2,
Oh, sorry.
or should
No, this should be, because now right now I don't have a EC2 variable, right? Only the master's EC2. Sorry. I think I made a mistake. So master EC2 dot instances. So instances means if you have multiple instances, then only we need to do, because again, if you this result we are expecting as array of JSONs. So array of JSON means one JSON for each VM we are deploying. So if you are deploying only one VM, so we will have a single JSON file. So that is a single JSON I have explained here, right? So if you have multiple multiple VM deployed, so we will have multiple JSON files, and each JSON is something like a complete details about that virtual machine. Why we are grouping here is, so maybe the next we need to do certain task or certain play for this user. Is this clear? The reason is for the new VM, we just need to deploy some maybe some for Hadoop installation. We may need prerequisites, installation, configuration, and all. To do that, we should know the what are the hosts or what is its IP address. So that thing I can do. So right now I'm just deploying, and this one, as I said, it's just a simple example where I am just adding all the content. And again, this one no longer needed for me, because we don't need that result to be printed. But only thing is we need the group created, and also we need to wait until the service is up and running. So next we will create another play, and while creating the play, you should write the same alignment. Just this one space name, and this one, and here let me just choose the same thing here. So this is the the second play. I can write this as configure master, and similar to this one, here we have mentioned like which host I need to execute. So I have written local, executing on local host here. So here I need to write which group. So this is the group I am going to execute. And to do sudo or to do which different user. So we have something, I think we have some option like, yeah, the remote user sudo equal to yes. I think here remote underscore user. So which user we are using? CentOS. And also we need sudo equal to yes. So basically this play is executing on a different host or different host group master, and that master group is created by this add host option. And again, add host option is getting the IP address from this variable where we are the post deployment result variable. So I think I don't need this key again. So then right now what I'm just using is, so I can just define some task that we are going to execute on this host. Okay, so the same way like we have defined here name where host and then task also in the same line sudo and task. And what are the tasks we are going to define, so that we can add here, just like so install ntp. So that is the one which we need, right? When you install, okay, so all these things, if whatever the prerequisites you can add here. So install ntp. So for installing, how to install, we will check that. We will see that option here. Yeah, this option in a simple, if you just need a single package, you can use what I need to use is here, like install. So name, okay, so what I need to use is yum module, then what is the name of the package, name ntp state installed. Okay, so this ensures okay, so this play I am executing on this host group master2, and only option is remote user is sent to us sudo equal to yes, because we require sudo access to install this one. And that what are the tasks? So install ntp, that is a yum, and name and status as follows. And we can have another task like so this service, once this service is installed, then we need to make sure like it's up and running. That is also we can just use then start ntpd. Then we will use how to use we should use some module here. Okay, so that we will also check here. Start as okay, so this is something like the service name enabled equal to state equal to started. So we will use this option. Same here. Service. What is the name of the service? ntpd state started. We can just use. Then enabled equal to yes. Enabled equal to yes means it will just enable so that the next reboot onwards, this will automatically will be up and running. I think you might be getting some idea why we grouped newly added host into master, because we need to execute certain task on that group. So if I'm adding this group means, so this is nothing but the host groups that we are added as a new VM build process. Okay, let me reiterate again. So this contain two play. The first play will execute on the local host. So local host means you can just use the local or local host itself, just a host name or host group also we can mention. So this play will have the variables and tasks. So variable, we have AWS keys like this, and the first part is the deploying VM. So we use EC2 module for this task. Okay, this is the one task, and this is another task. So we are using array of tasks. So for the first task, we use EC2 module, and we have given all these options which are necessary for this EC2 instance build. And register is something like a command or an option that we can choose with any task. So basically, the register will save output of this task to this variable. Okay, so register can be used for capturing the output of task into a variable. So why we are capturing this? Once the instances are built, we need to know the details, especially the private IP address of this host. And again, why we are using that private IP address? So we have this under this variable, and this variable, as I said, array for each instances we deploy. So if you use dot instances, you can capture as an array, and that will be one JSON for each instance. So we will take that, and from that we will take the private IP. So all the private IPs we are grouped into a master by using add host. And again, this will no longer or nowhere make these changes in any file. Only thing is this is dynamic or runtime in nature, and during the runtime it will create a new group master with all the private IP of the new host we created. So depending on the count, if you have one, only one private IP will be under this master. If you have 5 or 6, so that much numbers will be available. Then we are just waiting, because we cannot why we are waiting here is, if SSH is not up and running, and immediately if I try to execute the next step, definitely it will fail. That is the reason we are using the wait for module. So wait for module is simple, where you can check whether particular service and port. So what we are just checking is for list of instances and its private IP in our case. So this will have only one JSON and one private IP, and we'll check whether port 22 is started or not. So wait for is another built-in module. And next, we are doing another play. So another play means and on another host group, and also the remote host I changed to CentOS, and sudo I just changed to yes, and then task. Basically, it should use the CentOS user to connect this and to use that key. So I think I have one file here. So that it has having the key HTTP admin host key checking I disable, so that whenever new host connect, it won't ask that yes or no question. So this is the PEM file which here I use, not the PPK file, because from the Unix to Unix we use this PEM file. Now I've got this AWS create file, and also the host I just use my own customized, not the default host, so I can use. So what I can use is Ansible -playbook -i, which is the inventory file, and actual YAML file. Oops. EC2 is undefined. Okay, somewhere we are still using EC2. Oh,
EC2
not
run
sure.
instance.
Yes.
No, the little
Yeah,
bit
here,
further.
this one,
Good.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, no, we will rerun. Here you can see this part is done. If I just check to this console,
Sajesh, there are two keys, access
ah,
key and secret. Access key is the one which we use PEM to connect. What is security key? Other key, basically.
no, security key is something like, okay, normally, I think, 1 second. Normally, what we'll do for connecting any instance to AWS,
Mm.
okay, the one key is this SSH key,
Correct. Yeah.
okay. Another one is there is something like IAM, Identity and Access Management. So here I just use my login ID to log in and manually do the things, right?
Mm.
Instead of that, mostly you can do everything from the command line. So or from Python or from Ansible or from any automation tool. So basically that use one key and one password. So that detail you can get from IAM, Identity and Access Manager, and go to that. You can have your user created here using IAM, and you can have that whatever the permission you want. So in my case, I don't have only one user. So here you can see root access keys. I mean access key you can create, manage security credential. So yes, access key. Uh, you can just generate new access key. So this is something like access key and password, which is used for authenticating with the AWS console. The another key is the SSH key, that is a private key for one VM.
Okay.
Now you can see all the things are worked. So first, as I said, we have two play. The first play will execute from the local host itself. So that is something like using this key. We have AWS keys, right? And to all these details, it's going to deploy a EC2 instance. And at that play itself, we are just collecting the private IP address. Here you can see the private IP somewhere some formatted JSON. So this detail it will collect and saved into somewhere, not the permanent way. So if you just check like your host, you cannot see that is marked here like whatever the master group. And also if you just go into etc Ansible host, you cannot see master here also. Okay, so basically that is a runtime variable setting. Then once that is done, so we have another play which is doing some task. See, this is the second play. You can see the play configure masters. The first play is deploy VM, right? So now both are done. Now if I just check to the EC2 instances, see, you can see two instances are created. The reason is the second instance, the first instance created and post instance creation, some steps are failed. So we can get the public IP and then connect, or using the private IP itself we can connect. The reason is we have the key here, AWS key, PM file. So if you just know the private IP address, so I can get the private IP here itself, right? So this is the host, okay, and I use something from here. So the same way you can use the private or public, whatever it may be. What I use SSH -I. This is the key, and this host. Right now I am logged into this one. I can just sudo su. Then I can just check systemctl status ntpd. Yeah, ntpd is running, right? This is the one we added as part of our logic. Okay. And I'm just removing this two. You can see the test VM2 is the host name, or just instance name it is created, and there is something like tag name also test VM2. So I think we just need to use this instance tag only. The count tag we can ignore. So here we will just write this name as master. Here also I just write master. Then whatever the prerequisites that we need, so we will write all this set of tasks. So for example, we will just check whatever the okay, where is the RHL 7? Yeah, see, okay, so we just need the firewall is there, we need to disable VM safeness, then SE Linux disabling, NTPD, then what we need to do. Yeah, some of these steps we will try. Okay, so NTPD, this one we addressed, and disable SE Linux. We can just check disable SE Linux CentOS 7 using Ansible, because most of the things like the people might have already, or modules might be there, so better use that module to do. Okay, here you can see SC Linux policy targeted state enforcing permissions. So this one we can use for disabling SC Linux. Right now, if we look the SC Linux status /etc SC Linux, this is all targeted, right? So we just need to have it in a disabled form. So I can just remove these instances.
It has created two, isn't it? And where
No,
we
no,
have
no.
written count.
Yeah, the reason is it created two because we executed twice. Okay, so
Ah,
first
I see.
time it was halfway through. Halfway through in the sense post instance creation, we were
Mm.
collecting that host detail and we use incorrect variable and then run. So then again I executed freshly. I think we have an option to start from the place where we stopped earlier. Okay,
Okay.
so that was the reason two instances created.
All right. Cool.
Okay. Uh, okay. Now, so whatever the things we need to do, okay, and then set of tasks we can define here. Just uh, keep alignment in mind, and sorry, not this one. Where is SC Linux disabling? Yeah, this is the one. Okay, and also make sure like don't use the tab. So I'll show you if you use the tab, definitely it will throw an error. So using this space is the time consuming, but still use that. So state SC Linux. Okay, SC Linux is the module name. Then both should be in the same line. Then state equal to disabled. Okay, so this is the way we can write AC Linux, and the name should be in the same line and the state is disabled. So that is done. And VM swappiness. Okay, we will just see. Okay, sysctl. Okay, so this is the one we can use, sysctl VM swappiness 5. Okay, whatever the value we will just set. So sysctl is a module which helps to edit etc. We need not to do like manually go and edit like etc sysctl and this one. So we have a built-in module, so we use that. Okay, and okay, so SC Linux is disabled. Then use the same line sysctl. Okay, I'll just write this name as like updating SC, sorry, VM. And the module that we are using is sysctl, and the name which is passing as an argument to sysctl, just one line up. So if you do a practice, then you will get this idea. Okay, so these are different tasks. Okay, one task is install NTP, and you can keep the space or without space is also fine. So starting NTPD and SC Linux disabling, updating VM's happiness, and then VM's happiness. What is the value we need? Just use a present then values 10. VM's happiness, and what is the next prerequisites? Okay, I think then we will just see disable firewall. Okay, I'll try this option with the service option, service or systemd, systemctl, systemd. Uh, yeah, we can use this systemd. Okay, that is for RHL7. I think we have systemd hyphen name disable firewall systemd. So name firewall d. What is the name of the service? Firewall d. Then what is the state? Stopped. Then we will just use enabled equal to no. Okay, so we are just doing all these things, like these are the different tasks that we are going to do on this master group. Let's just try this. So do the same thing, Ansible Playbook. So here it's just waiting until this SSH is up and running. Okay, I think firewall could not find the requested service. The reason is the firewall service is not available. And now you can see.
Because by default they don't do it in
Yeah,
CentOS.
yes. I think we can do a retry again. If we remove that, I think everything else done. Or what we can do is just remove that firewall part, because we don't have the firewall, but we need to check if firewall is available, then only need to do that, or install firewall package and do something you need to do. But for the time being, let's just remove that. Now if you look here, new instances might have master one is deployed. Just take the IP address again, and here our description, we can just take the private host name or private IP, and from here we can just connect SSH-I HTTP admin, or if we know the public IP also, the same way we can connect. Okay, and here what is the things like cat/etc systemctl. What are the files we need to check? sysctl.conf. You can see the VM subnets is now 10, right? And etc SC Linux config. See, that is also showing as SC Linux is disabled. Okay. So, and next is we just need the yum also, because we need, say for example, I just need to update the repository, like I'll show that. Docs.hotandworks.com. Just hit on Ambari installation, then Apache Ambari installation. Okay, so let me terminate this one. Then using local repository, obtain public repository, Ambari repositories. Okay, basically I'll just download this file and see the content, and the same content I'm going to create inside that. So you can use something like uh, downloading option like wget, but rather than I'm just using a different option. See, all these contents should be printed inside the a new file called ambari .repo. So I'll just use create a new repo file using Ansible. Okay, so we have a yum repo option, so where we can tell all these things. You can see the sample one, base URL, and then EPL, uh, uh, then description, then mirror. All these details you can mention here. So if I go to here, so I have a name, base URL, GPG checked, GPG key, and all. So enabled equal to GPG check, I can enable, or GPG key, all those things I can mention. So what I'm going to do here is just use this yum repository. So that is another task which I am going to do on the master one. Then uh, the first one thing we need is we just need the name for this repository. So the name, you can see I'm just using the file name without. Okay, so we just need the file option. So the file option will tell what is the name of the repository we want. Okay, file Ambari, and it's whatever the name you need, you can choose. If you need a lowercase Ambari, just use lowercase Ambari. So in that case, it will create a repo with ambari.repo. And the next detail I need is the name. Okay, so the name is the repository ID, where you can see it's in the sample here. So where I have the name, so I also write the name here, like name. So what is the name they have used here? Like it's a I'm just using, let me just use without this one. Then what are the other details I need? I think name is this one. File name, the name of the repo, and description file, and base URL we have. Okay, so base URL is the location where these packages are situated. So we'll take this base URL and add it here. Then GPG check. So what value we need for that? 1. And GPG key. Let me just this is the GPG key, but I don't know what is the GPG option we are using. GP, yeah, GPG, yeah, GPG key and GPG check. These are the two things we need to add. Then I think that's it. We will just try to run this one. Okay, so I'm going to create a repository ambari.repo, so that will be under etcm repos.d, and this is the name, base URL, GPG check enabled, and GPG key. Then save it and rerun. So the first play is nothing but deploying the VM and waiting for some time to be up and running. Then it will take the IP address. Okay, so I think one operation is failed. Unsupported parameter for m underscore repository. The module GPJ supported parameter async backup. GPG check. Yes or no. Okay. The reason is I think I used one GPG check. Could be either yes or no, not one. That is the reason. So let me just terminate the one which we deployed now. Okay, let's rerun again and do. We'll check what are the mistakes. GPG key, GPG check. Unsupported parameters for M repository module. GPG check supported parameters. I think attributes backup base URL. Enabled. Does it have GPG check? GPG CA key, then GPG check. Check. Okay. Not sure like which one we used. Base URL
We
is not here.
we always use GPG check no because that's what I remember.
Yeah, but GPG key option and GPG CA key.
If we say no, then it won't check for anything, isn't it?
Yes, yes. It's saying the reason is some of the option that we used does not support. I don't know the file or base URL we have, right? Yeah, base URL is okay. Then the name, do we have the name? Yeah, the parameter is only if the required state. State present. Unsupported parameters. Which parameter we use? That is the question. Okay, we will just take it here and see. So we don't have a name here. No, name option is not here. Async attributes, backup bandwidth, base URL, content, cost, delimiter, metadata. File is here. We'll just take that away. GPG key. We'll see now. Oh, another thing, we know how to redeploy again to do these things. Since we already have one instance available, uh, we can use that instance to do this check. Okay, so in this case, okay, that is fine. Let me just oh, this time this is saying okay. So what we will do, we will just take this IP address and add it in the host and just create a group master here because I don't want to deploy this VM every time. So just to create. I'll use this file now. Okay, I don't need the first part of the play. So this time it will work because the group I already have, or else I can add my host name, whatever the host, new host, right? Uh, Here we will just add. We will just use Ansible Playbook, AWS post deployment. Parameter description is required. Okay. Oh, now this is working. I don't know. The problem is, okay. So if you see here, so GPG enable is fine. I don't know. Maybe the name I just added in the code, and the description also I added. Now the after that it's working fine. So now if I come back here and check what are the instances available, go to the master and public or private. So private is easy. We can connect from here. So we'll do the same way using the key. Now if I just use and go to etc m.repos.d, you can see ambari.repo. So this is generated by I mean our logic. So name, so base URL, all those things are there. So ambari.name. So I can just check whether I ambari-server ambari-agent whether this is working or not. Okay, I don't want to install now, so I'll just use this script to do that. Again, that is also I can automate. Hmm. 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 Ano? Okay. Hmm. Hmm. നോക്കാം. State installed. Okay, and I can just use agent also, name agent, just use m. Okay, so post to that, what I just need is Ambari server and agent installation. That I'm just adding as a two different tasks. Again, this also I can write in a much more better way. So I can use an array, and that array has these values Ambari server and agent, and do an iteration. But for the sake of simplicity, I just written as a two different tasks. So all these things will do. So again, if we want, I don't want this file ambari.repo. So that also will be recreated. So the script will, I mean, the Ansible will check whether that is present or not. If it's not present, then it will do that. So updating repository, and you can see okay. Okay means it's already there. No need to make any changes. So change means this is something like, because the reason is here. I just removed that repo file. You can see maybe this agent and Ambari server as installed. If I just check rpm-qa, see the server and agent installed. Again, I can do this setup also using some of the playbook tasks. So far we have seen, okay, this entire line we can add it back to that instance creation script, so that after creating the instance, it will do this repository, install the server, install the agent. Then once we set up the agent, that's it. We can do the installation of this one, uh, REST API based installation also we can use. Any questions? I know it's a bit slightly difficult to catch, but once you do a hands-on and do some exercise, so it's quite interesting and easy to learn. So what I will do, I will share these files to you. Okay, you can try. Then AMI, as I said, you can easily find out, log in, and go to the IAM, identity, and not AMI. Just type IAM, identity and access management, and where you can just find out your user details, or just check how to create, how to get access key, or how to create the access key. So any other questions? Okay,
No,
so yeah, any questions, Shant?
no.
Okay, right. I'll send you this file. Okay, you can try this once you get some time. Okay, because the practice and sample coding is very important. Or all right, then we will meet tomorrow. Thank you.
What we are targeting is tomorrow.
We will just once this is done, I think we will check any other the post deployment task we are still pending, right? Kerberos to Ranger, all those things, right? So we will see those
Yeah.
things.
And one thing I want to say that I think when we did Cloud, I think one thing we did not do encryption, which I want to do this time.
Yeah, we will do that. Java
Okay.
KMS, we can do that. Yeah, yeah. All right then. Yeah.
Right.